The opinions expressed on this program are solely those of individual participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of either Spectrum Generations or Time Warner Cable. Mature Lifestyle is made possible by Knowlton Hewins Roberts Funeral Homes and Cremation Service. Our homes are warm and welcoming, and we take care of you and your family like we would our own. Call us anytime. We are here for you.
Hello and welcome to Mature Lifestyles. Spectrum Generations is so pleased to bring you programs that help us live, laugh, and learn. We're very proud of that motto because indeed we're doing just that, and today is no exception. I have a very special guest, Harriet Vaughn, and Harriet is going, I think this show was ordered for me because her topic is leaving legacies by decluttering. Decluttering is something I think that's going to appeal to all of us because we have so many treasures that we try to keep. And Harriet, you've started a business helping people figure this out. Tell us a little bit first about you. How did you get interested in organizing things for people and for yourself?
Well, as I said to somebody, that I was kind of a born organizer as a child, even though I was kind of a messy kid, but I could always bring it back into organized.
You put your toys in the right bins.
You're right. I used to put into my grocery cart any magazine that had the word organize on it,
Really?
you know, Women's Day, Families, all those, and read them because it was kind of searching for help.
And did you find those magazines really come out sort of at the beginning of a year, like a New Year's resolution? So here we are in February,
Right.
People have a lot of things left over, maybe gifts they didn't want, but go ahead. You were picking up those magazines and I'll bet they're on the shelves right now.
For much more money. In 2006, we bought the house we're in now, and it was right after my husband's mother had passed away, and so we had cleaned out her apartment and brought a lot of things
That's
home.
very hard, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And so we had not only our own stuff from 40 years of marriage, but her things as well, and things from my parents.
So when you moved into your new house, and did you take everything with you from your old house?
Yes, because we bought a big house.
All right,
Yes.
so you didn't have to downsize, if
No,
you
I
will,
think if
which is
anything,
part of what you've helped
we
people do as well.
upsized.
You
I
upsized, you
think.
brought your own things and your mom's things.
Because we could, yes.
Because you could.
Yes.
But that's quite a challenge too, to organize that, isn't it?
It is.
For a move.
It's ongoing.
When I was younger, we were in the Marine Corps, and the saying was 3 moves equals a fire, because you lost so much in the move. But in your case, because you're organized, that didn't happen.
Well, it's, as I say, it's ongoing. But that same year, there was an AARP magazine, and it had, on the cover, it had the word, how to organize your home, you know, and that's a real tickler for me. So I turned to that page, and it really was about a man in his 50s who was trying to help his parents, who were in their 70s, move out of their house into assisted living. So it really wasn't about organizing, it was about clearing out a house. And it was about his tale of woe of trying to get his parents moving on the project because it was giving them so much grief. Things were being taken away from them.
Right.
And he was going home with things that he didn't even want because in order to make his mother more calm, he'd say, yes, Mom, I will take it.
And then she would still have it somewhere, and she couldn't let go
Yeah, she'd know
of
it went to him, okay? That's her
Right,
legacy
so
to him, you're right. So anyway, the rest of the article was about people who did this for a living.
Huh.
And that really caught my eye, and it featured people who belonged to the National Association of Senior Move Managers. And I said to my husband, I says, this is what I really want to do.
It had
from
your
now
name on it, didn't it?
It
So
did.
you started your own business then?
We did,
Helping
eventually.
seniors move?
Yes, yes.
Or tell me more about your business.
Well, what we do is we come at it from project management. There are some who do it, but they're about selling your things that you don't want anymore. But for us, it's the project management. So my husband deals with the things. I think it's the book, What Color's Your Parachute? It said you could divide
Yes.
people up into people who like to work with people,
Right.
people who like to work with things, and people who like to work with data.
Okay.
And that's paperwork. So my husband and I both like to work with people, and he likes to work with things. I'm not as comfortable working with things, hauling things out of the attic, up out of the basement, that sort of thing. And I like working with the paperwork. I'll just wade right into it. So, we kind of, between the two of us, we come up with the left brain, the right brain approach to things, so it works.
So there are really two interesting stories about you. Not only did you take a childhood passion, and you also are helping many seniors as they're trying to downsize, if you will, but you're also creating a business. And how old may I ask, when you started this business?
I think we started it in 2008 officially.
All right.
We did a lot of research
You can
before.
always start new things, is my point.
Yes.
And you are a perfect example of that. So talk to me a little bit about some of your clients, not by name, of course, but do you have any stories about a person who wanted to move into assisted living and they had lots of antiques or things like that they just couldn't bear to leave behind?
Some clients we worked with for about 18 months, and she was very clear in her own mind what she wanted. They were moving out of a nice, large, modern home into an apartment her daughter was building onto her house in another state, so that she was going from a lot of space to a very minimal amount of space. So we helped her to make decisions about, first, what she really wanted to have with her, and would it fit in that space? And if it would fit in the space, could you move around in it? If you needed to use a walker. There is. So she was very good. She had, she gave a lot of her, she was a quilter, and she was a gardener, member of a garden club. So she was happy to clean out all her projects and take the scraps, the quilting things, to the quilting group that she belonged to, and they were happy to receive it.
And that's why you called it a legacy.
Yes.
Because she was able to take her talents and her leftover quilting, and other people would make quilts as she had done.
Yes, and they were getting some free things that they might be able to help somebody who couldn't go out and purchase it. And she did the same thing with her garden things, and she had everything. I mean, she had a complete garden catalog between her basement and her garage.
So she didn't want to move it to another state, but she wanted to continue that legacy and to give to others who wanted to garden.
And then we found, she decided what furniture she wanted to take with her, and then she gradually began the process of living with less and less in the home. Now, she was very comfortable.
She didn't do it quickly.
No, she had a year and a half to do. This was a very...
Is that a good thing? Is it easier if you have more time?
I think it's easier
if you can plan ahead.
If you can, because when it's a crisis, then people feel like you're taking things away from them. Instead, she was giving of herself.
And she could plan and think.
She was my prime
example. And she worked with you on that. Okay.
Yes. And as I worked with her, my attention was always on her condition. Is she apt to lose her balance here? Is she drinking enough water? Keeping the health and safety of the client in mind. My husband worked with her husband, who was a lot less eager about giving up his stuff. Now, he wanted to take everything. It was kind of like a contest of wills, and he was not going to be talked into saying, I'm giving up
Well, that's
anything.
an interesting point. Couples are not the same.
Right.
So if you're dealing with a couple who has to change their living style, that's
So
a challenge. It's good to have the two of you.
Yeah, my husband had a real rapport with her husband, and he would go through things, and there's always a story. Everything we own has a story.
Right.
And the man would tell my husband, oh, this was, belonged to so-and-so, and I got this, and the whole history of things. And as he was doing that, he was filling boxes of don't keep, where he wasn't going to do that originally.
And how do you preserve some of those stories when you no longer have the things that remind you of those?
Well,
do you do that as well?
Yes, we take a photographic inventory of everything. For ourselves and for them, we go through the rooms and we photograph all the walls just as they are for the things that are in them. And then specific things that they might want to have to, either they have a great worth or they're designated for specific people. We take photographs of them, and if there's any provenance for them, if it's artwork or something, we photograph that. Because we want to be able to track where things went, because the closer you get to moving day, the more hectic things get and the more forgetful people are.
How about kids, the offspring of the people you're helping? Are there issues with, oh, well, mom promised me that and dad would give me this? How do you deal with that?
We have a lot of insurance to cover that sort of thing. It's called errors and omissions.
Right.
Yes, because sometimes the parent forgets and says to us, oh, I don't want that, you could sell it or find me a buyer for it.
But the son or daughter was expecting,
yeah, then they
because
come
it
along,
meant something to them.
So what we try to do first is photograph the item and send it as like an email attachment and say, this is the item, who wants it in the family, you know.
Okay, so you work with them to help with the family,
and if
because
they want
that can be contentious.
If they want to sell it, I might send it as an email attachment to people I know of who might be buying or would know people who know.
Right.
Yes, so you can do a lot digitally these days. And at the end, these people also have a photographic history of, you know, if they're moving into a smaller place, they can say, this was my home in Maine.
This is what it looked like,
Yes.
and they can share that with their new friends and their new neighbors. What's your biggest challenge in working with people who are downsizing?
Making it a positive experience for them. Yeah,
Because I'm sure you deal with the crisis situations as well.
Yes,
So how do you deal with those? Something happens quickly and you've got to sell the house or you've got to move in because your health isn't as good anymore.
You're essentially, as a senior move manager, putting yourself in the crosshairs of the family dynamic, you know. So,
yes.
So what I did was try and write a little booklet for people to use to get them going on it, because if you're the senior and you're making the decisions, then it's easier on you than if people are coming to you and saying, yeah, mother, hurry up, there's a time frame and you've got to make these decisions.
Tell us a little bit more about what you wrote something to help people. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I wrote this little ebook. It's called Legacy Guide to Downsizing Your Home. And in it, it's like I'm having a conversation with you. And I just walk you through the ways to look at your overwhelming situation and break it down
People
into
don't like
doable
change
tasks.
always, do they?
don't.
So you're trying to say it's a very positive thing. However, there's some tough decisions to make as you decide what to take with you to a smaller space potentially, or even a bigger space in your case.
Yes.
You might be able to take it off.
And the children need to understand that it's their parents' stuff. You know, they feel possessive of it.
Right.
And they want, from their children, they want to feel respected and they want to feel in control. I mean, even in the most dire situation, dementia or something, you find people still want control, even if it's just to say no or slow the process down or lose things.
And that's what you've learned.
Yes.
What else is, and first of all, how does one get your little book?
Well, you can go to my website. It's legacyyears.com with a hyphen between the word legacy and years. And there's a page called resources, and right there it says free ebook. I believe that's how it's worded.
Okay, so there's no cost. You can just go online
and just
to your
it's a
web page
PDF that you
and
can
learn
print.
about some of the things you might be facing. And is it harder after a certain age? I mean, do you deal with, well, you're saying seniors, is it people past 60 that you're dealing with primarily?
Well, I call it legacy years,
Legacy
for
years.
myself, because when I turned 60, see, I was born in 1945, so I'm getting further and further past that age of 60, and it seemed like the way life is arranged, you go from middle age to elderly, as if you step off a cliff, right? And that didn't suit me, so I thought, well, I don't really want to call myself elderly, but maybe these are my legacy years. It just popped into my head that this is a time of life when I can distill what I've learned and the things I have and see where I go from here and what I want to do with the things. And the other thing I try to help people when I can is to reframe who they are at this age. Instead of thinking of themselves as elderly, think of it as elder. Because that's like a wise woman. I mean, you had tribal elders.
And stateswoman, statesman.
Yes, and cultures that revered the old, they went to them for their collection of wisdom and knowledge. And so put yourself in that frame rather than elderly, like I'm past my prime and I have nothing to offer.
And legacy has such a nice term to it, that you're creating something that others can remember, not just you by, but I'm thinking of your quilting and the gardening and maybe some special piece of furniture that you want to leave to someone that they can think of the family history. So all of that is part of it, isn't it?
It is.
And it sounds also very promising that you and your husband can work together to help couples, because it's not always the same as if you're a single person deciding what to leave behind and what to take with you.
But even if you're not moving anywhere, just to bring this about and to stay in your house, because sometimes change is forced on you, it's out of your control.
You are exactly right, and we'll be right back, because it isn't just about moving, but what about at home? I could use some help on decluttering. Stay tuned and we'll tell you more soon.
Yes, he's still on his feet. He's in. Throws it up. Yes! And the buzzer!
Saved by Leonard. Rebound back and forth.
The Maine Pringle Association 2012 champion.
It's the sports category on TWC TV On Demand. Topics that complement your lifestyle. The sports category on TWC TV On Demand. Check it out on Channel 950 or Channel 1.
Spectrum Generations. Live healthy. Live well. Get answers. Get connected. Spectrum Generations. Specializing in the art of aging.
Life should be celebrated. It's a special day when family and friends gather together to celebrate the life of a loved one. A celebration of life helps us honor our loved one and keep our memories alive. Whether you're planning a traditional funeral, a creative celebration of life, or a blend of both, at Knowlton Hewins Roberts, we are truly committed to meet the personal and unique needs of you and your family. Knowlton Hewins Roberts. Visit us online or visit our 2 locations in Augusta and Winthrop.
Welcome back to Mature Lifestyles. Harriet Vaughn is talking to us about downsizing, decluttering, but she's also talking about the excitement of realizing what you have that's most valuable and how you want to deal with it, and not to be a prisoner to things. I think of it in that sense as well. What's really important, it's not those things, it's the relationships. But they're important to us, and sometimes they can interfere with those relationships. So one of the things you talked about was, how do we figure out so that our kids aren't fighting about the antique dresser or the some heirloom? How do we talk to us about that?
Well, I'd suggested, in my little guide here, I had suggested that times like Mother's Day or when you have family gatherings, that you try and bring up this conversation if you can get them all together. And sometimes you could have almost like a scavenger hunt in your own home and let people go through. You can get little colored dots from stationery stores that are removable and assign every family or each person a color and let them put the dots on the things that interest them. But the rule has to be that it can have lots of dots.
Okay.
It doesn't
Otherwise,
matter
I can see my kids racing
what
to see who got there
what
first.
What it indicates is that there's a lot of interest here, okay? So if you see several. So in that case, if it's really valuable, you might want to have that appraised.
Well, I was going to say, I just saw on television recently, a woman had bought a painting and for $13 at Goodwill. Somebody just got rid of it. Turned out it was a Picasso worth thousands of dollars. So one should be careful about not recognizing the value of what you own.
I love to go out and talk to seniors about tell the story of your stuff, because a family under stress who has to empty a house suddenly brings in a dumpster. They might each take home a few things that have meaning to them or they see the value of, but there's other things that they might put in a dumpster that they never knew
had any value at all.
Yeah, and I'm guessing there are dumpster divers who see this coming and make out on it. So your legacy isn't going to your family, it's going to somebody who was an
Talk about
opportunist.
papers. Some of us are hoarders of papers. I mean, you have your income tax from '02 or whatever. You keep things forever. Do you need to keep all those papers?
There's records retention rules I think you can get off the IRS site.
I'm not even sure that whether it's the rules or not. Maybe you just don't let go because you just want these things.
People hang on to things because they have a fear of if I don't have it. And very often I go into somebody's house and there'll be a table that's just got all of the papers on it. And I have a filing system that I sell and or set up for people that takes that endless categorizing out of it. It's very clear cut what goes where. And I have this set up in my own home, and I have a top drawer and a file cabinet, and I told my daughter-in-law, I says, if anything happens to my husband and me that wipes us out, everything you need to know is in this drawer. And I opened it up and showed it to her.
What kinds of things would you put into a drawer?
Well, I have like a living will, healthcare power of attorney, wills, any legal documents that might be needed. the insurance policies, our medical history.
That's very important
yeah,
to think about what goes into it.
It can all be found. So when I'm helping people to downsize, my eye is always on the paperwork, and I want to see that the important thing is going with them, or if they're not moving, it's going to be put in a place where it's like fingertip available. And the things they're not going to keep, I want to see that there isn't any possibility of identity theft.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah, so I either bring in my own shredder, or if there's a vast quantity of it, say they're really closing out somebody's house and it's a file cabinet full, there are companies that do shredding. There are some organizations that sponsor a shredding truck
and that's
coming.
just to protect things
that
like your
protects
social
you.
security
Yes,
numbers, tax ID.
Yeah, to keep your credit card account numbers. But there's many ways. I mean, there's the wood stove too. But anyway, we're making sure that they don't fall in the wrong hands and that you can find it when you need to.
I remember reading before the show in your publication about how to do this, that people kept a lot of papers, but they really used about 20% of the entire group of papers they kept.
We all do, even digitally online, where we save more stuff than we refer back to. But yeah.
So that's part of what you help people do, sort through what's the important 20%.
The thing I find the most of is recipes people cut out of paper. I'm doing it digitally now. I print them off my printer, but in my mother's house, she wasn't a good cook. She didn't like to cook, but she collected recipes from forever. So.
And I must admit, I have boxes of them from when I was first married. I don't think I've used them for about 25 years, but they're there. I don't need those, do I?
No. the best ones will have spots on them for where they sat on the counter.
Exactly. Well, that goes about some of the best ones. In fact, I just looked at a recipe recently, and my mother-in-law, who's no longer with us, it was all dictated to her. My husband wrote it by hand, and it is totally covered in spots. I wouldn't take anything for that piece of paper. It's shredded almost. But you mentioned letters are important if you have letters, because people don't write letters as much as they used to, but that could be an important legacy.
They're becoming collectibles. If you have family letters that have family history, and your family ought to know about it. Sometimes grandchildren have a project at school that's learning something about their family history, and sometimes their parents can't give it to them. They just didn't pay attention. But the grandparents are there. They're that legacy of stored information.
And if someone came to you because they saw the show and they thought, well, this sounds interesting, where would you begin with this person?
We get as much information as possible over the phone, and if we...
You make house calls, I assume?
We make house calls within reason. Maine is a large state. Yeah. And we will go to people's houses and for a consultation, and we charge for it because they're getting something of value, but if they take us on to handle the whole process for them, then we take that's part of it, yes.
Right. And so it sounds like a booming business. You did mention something that I'm so intrigued with. You talked about a yellow pie plate. You want to tell that story?
Oh, that's a program called Who Gets Grandma's Yellow Pie Plate. It comes with
Is that part of this too?
No, it's not on
It's a workshop. You do many things.
Yes.
Give us an example then.
Okay, I bought the facilitators kit from the University of Minnesota. And it's for getting that conversation going between generations, because there's so much, your possessions are so much more than just things. They're freighted with emotions, good and bad. And some people are carrying long histories of animosity. Mom always liked you best. And a lot of people would rather it came out now than think of it coming out when they're not there to say, well, the true story is, But so this Grandma's Yellow Pie Plate is a program for those that want to get the conversation going.
So last words of wisdom, because this is going so fast, we're going to be running out of time soon, and people want to know more. Decluttering, leaving legacies, what a marvelous job you have created, and how much help you must be giving to people.
Thank you.
Any last words of wisdom to people who are thinking about, maybe it's time I should think about that. When is it time?
Start early. Start early while you're still in control, while you still have your thought processes and your energy, and begin now and think about it as legacies, and yourself as that elder who has something to offer, and think about the different levels of distribution, the things you want your nearest and dearest to have, and then going out from there. You might have nieces and nephews from a sibling. If your children don't want something, you might try there, and just see how many levels in the family people want, what they don't want. You can decide whether you want to donate it or sell.
Right. Well, thank you for teaching us about legacies and decluttering. You've been a wonderful guest, and you stay tuned because we've got a wonderful guest coming up next to talk to us about nutrition.
Spectrum Generations. Live healthy, live well. Get answers, get connected. Spectrum Generations, specializing in the art of aging.
Excuse me, begging your indulgence, sir. I'm a wealthy foreign dignitary, and I would like your help moving a vast sum of money into this country. I will let you keep most of it, but I would like to have some of it back, too. Please take this certified cashier's check as a portion of the transaction.
Get lost. Scams like these don't work as well in person. That's why most of them are done online.
Welcome back. We're so pleased to have Ryan Poirier. He's the nutrition coordinator at the Muskie Center. However, when I said he was going to talk about nutrition, I really meant he was going to talk about fish who are nutritious. He is also the best spokesperson you could find for this ice fishing derby, which is truly a Maine tradition. Ryan, what's happening this year in February?
All right, February 24th is going to be our 15th year of this ice fishing derby, and we really want to bring it alive this 15th year anniversary. And what we're doing is basically it's going to be the same ice fishing derby as before, but we're going to bring in different vendors. We're going to have auctions for the adults, auctions for the children. And
so it's all ages, right?
All ages. We have so many kids and adults and grandparents. And
yes.
That
it's a family day.
That's
and
right.
It's grown, hasn't it?
It's tradition, and everybody, this little kid right here now is like in his 30s. You know?
Well, you're celebrating his
Right.
history. So when is the derby?
February 24th.
And where?
At the Muskie Center, 38 Gold Street in Waterville.
Yeah.
The weigh-in is from 2 to 5 p.m. on that day. We have a heated center, so there's going to be food, all kinds of entertainment.
Wow.
And it really benefits our Meals on Wheels program. All the money goes into the Meals on Wheels.
So you can have fun and do something really good.
Right, and it's really helping the community. When you look at it, we're doing 360 meals a day for homebound seniors. And if you do all the math, it's almost 100,000 a year.
Amazing.
That's just at the Muskie Center in Waterville. We have sister centers that do the same. And we're projecting a little over 200,000 Meals on Wheels this year alone.
Wow. So go back to the fishing, just one more minute. Where do you go fishing?
It's any legal waters in Maine. Okay. You can fish, and as long as you get it back to the Muskie Center by 5 p.m.
So
in
fish
Waterville.
Any lake you want.
Yeah, I have people fish in East Grand every year. They
come to Waterville to weigh in.
Yep.
All right. What's the biggest fish you've had?
That would have to be a togue, and they range from 19 to 25 pounds.
All right, so the challenge is on.
Yeah.
Be there, help raise money for Meals on Wheels, and have fun fishing at the Ice Derby. Thank you for joining us today.
Mature Lifestyle is made possible by Knowlton Hewins Roberts Funeral Homes and Cremation Service. Our homes are warm and welcoming, and we take care of you and your family like we would our own. Call us anytime. We are here for you.
TWC TV On Demand, programming that fits your lifestyle.
You're watching TWC TV, only on Time Warner Cable.